everybody, and welcome back to the Above Average Fisherman. Our last video we talked about some of the upgrades you can do to your boat and what I did to my boat, a fiberglass boat, which most people wouldn't do, but I did. And this time we're going to talk about the trailer. Don't forget the trailer. You got to have maintenance done on your trailer because you're going to be traveling lots of miles going from lake to lake, whether you be tournament fishing or camping or just fun fishing. As the season starts, not only do you have to have your boat ready, but the trailer, like I said. So today we'll be going over checking the air pressures. We're going to be doing the grease in the bearings, and we're actually going to try on some new wheels today that we recently got. We're also going to check all the lights. But today I have a special assistant with me, my daughter Adrian.
Hello everybody, how are you?
Which is also my co-tournament partner. If my partner can't make it, she's going to fill in and fish with me as a team. And she'll be helping me do the maintenance today, or being a gopher, or whatever she's going to do to help.
Yeah.
So without further ado, let me show you what we're going to be working on. We're going to be pulling this wheel off. We're going to be pulling those bearings out. First, we're going to try on a set of wheels that I recently got as a kind of an upgrade to make it look pretty good at the tournaments. And also we'll be checking the lights. These lights were replaced last year, but I'm going to double check them anyway. One of the things that you should do, of which I've already done, and I apologize I didn't get any footage of it, is if you have an older trailer, underneath the boat on your trailer you have what's called bunks, and that is one of the bunks. Let me get a better shot. Those bunks your boat actually rides on and off. When you launch, they should slide on and slide off. Usually, and I think on all trailers, it's a 2x6 or a 2x4, and it's wrapped in carpet. Over time, if you have an older trailer like mine, the carpet gets to wearing out and it starts looking shabby and raggedy on it. And then your boat starts riding on the wood and it makes it stick as you're trying to load, which makes it kind of a pain. So what I did was I went over and recarpeted over top of the wood. In some places I just put a complete patch basically of the whole bunk on the top surface that it slides on. I have heard of other upgrades where you can get it's actually a piece of PVC, which is used for like siding. It's about a 16-inch thick. It's exact width of a 2x6, and you just drill a little bit bigger hole, only don't go all the way through, and in the center you put the hole so you countersink the screws, and that actually slides on and off pretty smooth. Now I didn't do that because I'd already sunk a bunch of money into the inside of the boat, so I might upgrade with that next year. If I do, I'll show you. My teammate on his boat, he did that. He says it's the way to go. I don't know, I haven't done it yet. When I do it, I'll let you know. But without further ado, let's get to doing the maintenance. Okay, what we've done now is we've taken the wheel off of the rim. We want to take this bearings out right here. Now this particular trailer is set up where it actually has a brake system on it. So we have to take the caliper off, and then we have to take this cover right here off. This is where we grease our bearings in order to get to the nut that holds on the bearings. So let's do that first. So we're going to loosen these nuts here that hold this caliper on. There should be two of them, one on the top, one on the bottom. And they shouldn't be overly tight. If they are, then somebody made a mistake, because really these should be snug, but not like gorilla tight. Did you find the hammer? It's in on the washer. I specifically took that hammer, it's in there. Anyway, take this top and bottom pins out, which are threaded, just like working on a car. So if you've ever taken a caliper off, on a car, it's pretty much the same. You take the top 2 bolts out, you slide the whole caliper off and out of the way. Now this, unlike a car, does not have a flexible brake line. The brake line is a stiff brake line, so we have to do that. So now what we need to do is we're going to have to knock this loose, is why I'm asking for a hammer. You don't want to be too rough with it. See, this all comes off just like a vehicle, just like a car. Inside here is where our bearings are. There's a bearing seal in the back, which we can see there's grease on it. And here's where our bearings are. We want to tap this cover off.
The hammer was on the dryer.
Okay, come on.
Hammer.
Thank you.
Well,
Now some of these seems to be on pretty tight. Just want to tap a little bit on each side. Just go around the horn like this, turn a little bit, tap, tap. See, as you can see, the cap is starting to come off. This is important to do this kind of maintenance. This is how you take care of your stuff. That's why I have this older boat and it's still working with this trailer, because people did make grease stinks.
yeah.
Anyway, right here I need to get a towel. There's a blue towel in there somewhere that's dry. Might be one, yeah, right here, that'll work. We're trying not to get too much grease on ourselves. Thank you. But we do want to need to get this grease to where we can see what we're doing. This is pretty well packed from back in the day. I can see. Nope, this is grease. You have what's called a castle nut right here that holds these bearings in tight. See the castle nut? There should be a cotter pin that holds this castle nut on. We take that cotter pin out, or some kind of pin, whatever pin it is holding it in. Should be a cotter pin or some type. Can't really see what's in there. Let's see, this is the grease.
Looks better than when you started, though.
Does it?
Yeah.
Good. So it looks like this might be one of those ones that you have to bend out of the way, and then you bend it back in order for it to stay, instead of being a cotter pin. So I should actually be using a screwdriver, but since I'm trying to cut in corners here, which I shouldn't be, and I'm not. You can also use the head of a wrench if you can get it in there. Just set it right in there. Once it starts bending down, it's not a terrible thing to bend down and out of the way. See, now that it's out of the way, unscrew it.
And get all the grease off?
Yep. Once you unscrew this castle nut, watch that. This guy's a flat little piece in there that kind of locks it. You can unscrew this castle nut, and then you take the bearings out and get this castle nut completely off. And once you get the castle nut completely off, we take the bearings out. See, this grease is well in here, but it's almost like oil. I mean, so this is old grease. This is something that definitely need to be done. This is the first time I've done it since I've owned the trailer, which I've only owned this particular trailer for a year. So I got it last year. And you shouldn't assume anything, but
Didn't you get the boat and the trailer at the same time?
yes, I did. So when I picked them both up, I got it from actually a car dealership, a used car dealership. Kind of strange, right, to get a boat? But we won't talk about how much I paid for it, but I got it for a really good deal. Some of you found out what I got it for, you'd probably be like, holy cow, you got a good deal. You might not even say holy cow, you might say something else. You notice that nut, when this nut was on there, it wasn't on there so tight that it was gonna snug the bearings down so tight that they wouldn't spin. So when you put it back on, which when it comes time for me to put it back on, I'll show you. You don't want it to be so tight that it's gonna make those bearings to where they won't spin. This little lock thing is working pretty well. Kind of a pain in the butt, but I'd rather be a pain in the butt and work well than come apart somewhere down the road.
Yeah, true.
So there's the castle nut. See the grooves inside? This is why they call it a castle nut. On a car, there's actually there's a hole inside the shaft here, and a cotter pin goes through, and then you fold it over, and that keeps the nut from backing off. You don't have to tighten it and gorilla tighten it down. You can just tighten it up and then stick that cotter pin through, and that stops it from coming out. So that's one 3-piece off. Now we're taking this off. Now this is the piece that we just had that folded up. Let me wipe it off so you can see it. So this actually goes on, and then the castle nut goes on there. Let me bend this a little bit out of the way so it won't be so hard to put back on. Put the castle nut on there, and then one of these tabs bends up into the castle nut. See how it fits up in there? And that, when this is tightened on there and this bends up in, that keeps this from backing off, so it won't back off. And it's grooved actually, so that it's not like it's round. So if you look at this, there's a circle and there's a flat spot. The shaft of this axle is the same way. It's round and it's got a flat spot. All right, so let's wipe this off here. And we should be able to wiggle this a little bit, and the whole thing should come out like so. Pull this off like this. Back here would be your grease bearing. Grease covered the whole thing of the jiggy here. Yeah. This right here is where our seal on the back rides on the back right here, and the bearing goes up against this and runs on that. So we want all this to be clean of any debris, so we can put fresh grease on there so that it's ready to go. We're trucking down the road, headed to the next tournament. We also want to do the same thing, and I have some spray that I'll get here, and brake fluid, brake spray, brake cleaner spray works really well for this. I'm not sure if I have any. Might have to go with the good old-fashioned way, and that's to use gasoline. Hopefully, I don't have a new seal. Now, the right way to do this is to get a brand new seal for the back of this hub. So this is the hub. Your rear bearings back here. And this goes on the shaft. Your front bearings go here. This is called a race that's inside. The bearing sits on the race and spins on that race. And so you would actually take a seal puller and pull this seal out, pull these bearings out, or re-grease them really well. But I don't have a new seal, and I don't want to damage this one because I am not able to put a new seal on it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do this kind of a cheating way, but I think we'll be all right. So I'm gonna take grease and I'm gonna push it up in here, because right here is where the bearing, let me show you on this bearing, because I'll be able to pack this bearing really well.
There's a lot of grease on that side.
What?
There's a lot of grease on that side.
Yeah, there is. There's gonna be a lot more too. So this bearing is actually sitting in here. It's a little bit different because it rides on this shaft, so it's not tapered like this. It's just a solid straight bearing, but there's an edge, and I don't know if you can see it, but there's an edge right here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pack that with grease down in there. Since there's some grease still inside there, I'm going to pack in all the way along the edge, and then I'm going to slide it this way. I'm going to pack some in along that edge on that other side, and that should do. And then I'll put some more on the shaft right here, and that should help that out a lot. This is called a Zerk fitting on the end of this shaft. Now when you shoot grease into this Zerk fitting, it's almost like an air fitting on your tire. There's a little pin right there, and it pushes. The grease goes in, And I know you can't see on that side, but there's a hole in the shaft right here. This hole will push that grease from here and it'll come out of there into this back bearing. So the back bearing, we can get away with not having to pack like the front. The front doesn't have that. It doesn't have a hole in the shaft anywhere to where it'll get any type of grease from it. So we're gonna go ahead and do what we can, pack the back along the inside edge, and then we'll get the grease gun and we'll shoot some grease right inside there, and then we'll pack this, and I'm gonna show you how to pack this the old-fashioned way. Now there's a piece of equipment that you can use to pack bearings, and it's like some call it a clamshell, and you put the bearing on it like this, and there's a top piece that slides on it and it screws down, and then you use the same kind of Zerk fitting. You squeeze grease into it like this, and it shoots grease down in the middle, and it's forced out from the inside out. So when the bearing, you won't know until you take it apart, but once you take it apart, you can see the grease forces its way all the way through. Now I don't have a clamshell, so we're gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way. All right, so let me show you. Get marine grade grease. You take a gob of that grease like so, put it on the palm of your hand. Now I used to work on cars, had a shop, I was a franchisee a while back, and of course we had clamshells back then at our shop, but a lot of times we had 2 or 3 cars being worked on and you had to keep going. If you didn't have a clamshell, you had to do it the old-fashioned way. So anyways, you take the bearing in your hand, put your index finger through the middle, hold it like so, and you just start going like this, a little bit at the end each time. And what that's doing is it's forcing it through that little edge right there. It's actually forcing it up into the bearings.
Almost looks like a bleeding.
Just keep doing that all the way around circles. You keep doing it until you feel like you've packed it well. And you'll notice, like that big gob that I stuck on my palm, it's not the same amount that's right here. You can see some on the extra on the inside, but see, it's being forced up in there. Just do a little pound it, palm packing. You can actually see it being forced out the top. See the old grease coming out the top? It's being pushed. So we're gonna go around, circle like this, pack it all the way around. And we'll take this grease out of the inside here, put it back on my hand. See that big gob I had, and that's all that was on the inside. You just keep going like that, and it forces it in. You can see where it's forcing out right there, all the old grease.
Looks like a bleeding.
Yeah, I heard you say that.
I know. Still looks like a bleeding.
So you can actually push it in with your hand. Force it in there. Nice and packed in. And you can see this doesn't take a whole lot of grease to pack in there. And there really wasn't a whole lot of old grease in there. And I'm glad when we did this. You can always take some out of the jar and push it in the sides. You just want to get it good and well greased up, because there's, like I said earlier, you definitely don't want to have any issues going down the road. So we're gonna get this greased up. I'm gonna set this here on this cap right here. Then I'm gonna take this, and like I said, we're gonna pack it in right along this edge here. Push it right in. And it doesn't have any choice but to get forced into that bearing. That bearing's not bad, so I don't need to replace it. And I wish I had the grease seal on the side, but I don't. So see, all that grease that I had that I was pushing in, it's pretty much being forced its way into that bearing. Alright, now we're going to take some grease here, wipe it on this shaft here, back here, and everything. We're all nice and greasy. This all goes through. where our bearings run. Right in here. Alright, so you wipe off the excess off your hand. And you get it everywhere. There's some old grease inside here, which we're gonna go ahead and take out. This grease has served its purpose. It's done well. It kept the bearing alive, but the viscosity of the grease has definitely broken down. It still was working though. Thank you, Lord. God is good. He protects the things that we want to take care of. Alright. So, wipe this out. And a lot of people, and I'm right along with those people, because as these bearings get hot, it tends to make that grease be watery like you saw it. So a lot of people, including myself, like to put grease down inside here, because as it breaks down, it has a tendency to mix in, and having some fresh grease inside here to be there for it to mix into is a good thing. It's not too bad to have a little bit of grease around this edge, because you have to beat it back in. Alright, so next step. Some people want to take and clean all that up, and might be a good idea, but I don't see any reason behind it, because it's just going to get dirty again on the road and it doesn't affect anything. So we'll slide this back on here like this, because we know we can pack those bearings via this grease fitting right here. Wipe off some of that ick. Take the new bearing right here that's nice and packed. Good. It's good pack. I'm going to push a little bit more up in there. Nice and good packed. Slide that bearing in like, and it's only going to go in one way because there's a flat spot, like I said, on that shaft is also on that bearing. Next, we'll put that keeper ring on, like so. And you want to be careful not to put too much grease, because if you do, then what happens is it starts flinging out and getting all over your rim and stuff like that. And it really makes your rim look bad. I mean, it won't cause any damage, or it shouldn't anyway, but it makes it look terrible. Ugh, this keeper.
And the better it looks, the better.
Some people say, look good, feel good, perform good.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say anyway, but in a different way.
If you guys have any questions at all, you're pertaining to anything in life that you're contemplating and you need an answer, all you have to do is submit your question down below, and my 12-year-old daughter will have an answer. She knows everything, you know, at that age.
Yep.
So, this is being kind of, I should have straightened that out, because now it's going to be a pain in the butt. And I didn't get it all straightened all the way. But you can see how that lock works on this castle nut. Probably would have been a little bit easier if I used a straight screwdriver. But since I didn't have one handy, I elected to use this. I'm going to turn this thing, and we're just going to get it to where it's snug. We don't want it to where it's, you know, monkey tight, where it's like gonna break anything. So we snugged it up. Now we're backing it out just enough to be able to get this turned up. And now that we got this little pin right here, push straight up. Now it can't turn. We got a tight hub, freshly greased. Got some new grease inside this. I'm gonna take this and tap this cap back on here. Just tap a little bit all the way around, piece by piece, one by one. And there you have it. Greased hub, ready for the season. Now, all you have to do now is push these pins out of the way. There it is. Put your brake pads back in. Check your fluid on your brakes. Slide this back on in position. Take the pin, slide it back in, get it started. Back in business. Now, some of the folks that have been watching my videos are saying, "Where's the fish?" You want to see me out catching some fish. And I want to see me out catching some fish too, and I fully intend on it. But all these things that I'm doing have needed to be taking place in order to get ready for the season. Now, I have been to the water a couple times that I hadn't brought the camera with me. Let me tell you, I don't know, some of you may know what I'm talking about, and I'll explain it. But I have marshed a lot of those fish. It's still cold here, and so they have marshmallow mouth. In other words, they're biting so softly, you can barely even tell they're hitting. You can barely even tell they're hitting. That's how softly they're biting. I mean, when I had a bump, I wasn't even for sure if it was a fish. I thought maybe I was getting a snag or something. But, there we go. It just was not. Wonderful. Pull this off, make sure you got your pads in place. Everything in place. Slide this bad boy back on.
Maybe it's cold, but even the birds are waiting for spring.
I'm sure the birds are waiting for spring. I know I am.
Because most of the birds came back for spring.
How many of you are going to the Bassmaster Classic? I know I am. I'm not competing in it because I am not at that level. But I'm going to go and I'm going to check some of that stuff out. I'm going to see some of these guys that are pro. See what they're up to. Maybe I can learn something there. The thing is, you know, I'm a little bit up there in age compared to some of these other guys, but I never stop learning. We can always learn. Fishing is not a sport that you can master. At least I don't think so. Maybe some people think they're masters. I think that there's something you can learn from just about anybody when it comes to fishing. And in order to be a good fisherman or be above average, you need to be open to be able to learn from anybody. Sometimes you can learn something from the most innocent fishermen, ones that just starting to learn how to fish. Sometimes you just learn from people that you already know. When you think that you've learned everything there is to know about fishing or a certain technique, then I think that you might be in a little bit of trouble, because there's just too much out there to learn and too many people to learn from in order to really master. I mean, there's been times where Adrienne doesn't know it, even though she thinks she knows everything. But I've learned stuff from her when we were fishing. I will always be learning. I will always be learning. Once you think you've mastered fishing, you may as well start golfing. Because I don't know anybody that knows everything. I know some people that know a lot, and they're really darn good. And we can all name our you can call them heroes, or you can call them just people you support, or people you like. I like to call them people that I support, because I think we all eat our Wheaties the same way. We use a bowl, or we use milk, or whatever, you know what I'm saying. But we can learn from them, that's for sure.
Or maybe even people we look up to.
Yeah, people we look up to, you can call them that too, however you want to call it. So that's how you have a packed bearing. The next stage we need to do, which I've already done, and I should have did it for you on camera. I still can, but I'm not sure if it's needed. It's pretty self-explanatory. Is that we have one person stand in the back of the trailer and one person on the inside. We have it plugged in, started up. You tell them we're gonna left blinker, turn on the left blinker, right blinker, turn on the right blinker, and you just make sure that your lights are on. Now there's lights all the way down the trailer here. There's one right here on this side. There's one up there. And these are as you're driving down the road, so that people know you have a trailer behind you at nighttime. If you're changing lanes, or they're changing lanes and they don't know you have a trailer, they can swerve right over into your trailer, cause a huge accident, somebody gets killed. We don't want that. So we want to make sure all these lights work. These ones don't blink, but they do come on, so you should turn on your lights, make sure they illuminate. Bulbs are not expensive. You can get a bulb, you know, $5 or $6 for a set of them, maybe even cheaper. I'm not sure, but I bought full replacement lights, and they're not that hard to replace. I replaced those last year. If I was to replace them today, I would film it for you. But I replaced them last year. I put brand new LED lights on both sides. So you check your hazards, you check your blinkers, and you just check your running lights. Make sure they're all on. Safety, safety, safety is number one. So we did try those wheels that we got. They looked really sharp on here, but they didn't go all the way on because the hub, the centerpiece, the hub piece here was too big for it. And not to mention the offset was wrong, so it was gonna rub on the back. And we definitely don't want to rub on the back. So we won't be putting new wheels on, we'll be putting the old wheels on. But that's okay. We're hoping to have some new nice wheels for it, so that when we kick off the season, it'll look sharp on the trailer. But if not, we do have these wheels and they work, and we're just blessed to be able to go. And one thing I want to point out real quick is, if you look, the boat looks terrible, and that's because I still need to put a coat of gel coat on, of which I will show you. Now the temperature needs to be at 75 degrees maintained overnight. Now you can do gel coat with wax, or you should do gel coat with wax, because it hardens up quicker, but it does not set for 24 hours. So once you put it on, it may feel hardened in like a half hour to an hour, but it hasn't set up yet. So it needs to maintain 75 degrees overnight. And right now it's 30 degrees outside. You wouldn't be able to tell it because it's been 9 degrees this morning, so it actually feels kind of warm. But I'm gonna wait, because I'm not gonna rush things. And when I do that, I'm hoping I'm hoping that maybe I'll be able to film it, maybe not. All right, so one of the things that I want to cover also is, not only do we do the wheel bearings and check the lights, but there's more to your trailer than just the wheels and the tires and the bunks and the lights. We also need to check our crank out. This is the crank, and then here's our wheel lift, and here's our hitch. So I want to make sure our hitch operates correctly, make sure it's working good, make sure our crank is working tight, and our strap. Now I've had straps where I've tightened it up and they snapped on me. That's no good, especially if you're trying to go home and this thing snaps and you're worried about your boat bouncing. Now I don't have a cover. I have to get a cover for this, but I need to take some grease and put it on this, because this thing needs to operate. This is what lifts the tongue of the boat up when you're getting it off of the trailer. So we're going to check the strap. Well, I know this is a new strap because I just put it on. So this strap's good. So I need to also put some grease and some oil on this right here. These are our gears. As we turn, brings it in. And like I said, grease on this here. Here's the bow, where the bow hook is right here. This is on our trailer. Want to make sure that this is not rotted away or getting ruined. It looks like it's still in good shape. Just double checking everything to make sure. Check our wiring out. So I changed this last year. I put a new plug on it, so it works out good. I wired it in. It's just going to run down the wires here, make sure everything's all good. I have it up here, ran on the inside, just making sure everything's going. Also, what we need to look, and I need to get myself a spare. I don't have a spare yet. I will have one before the season begins, but I don't have one now. It's important to have a spare. If you're going across country and you have a blowout, you don't have a spare, you're in trouble. You got to call somebody, and then they might gouge you or whatever. Well, if you're in Tennessee or you're on a whole nother side of the state and you got a call, you're just in bad shape. So I need to get a spare. Make sure you have a spare on yours, so that way you're in good shape. We go around. This is the lights I was talking about on the side. We're going to make sure all the lights work, which we did do already. I need to go ahead and pull this one off, make sure that the grease and everything's done. I've done the other side. Now I'm going to be doing this side. We check everything all the way through. Here's our motor. As I said, this is our tilt and trim motor. Make sure the fluid is changed out in there, cleaned up. I changed the fluid out in the lower unit. Now let me just go over what I did. I didn't video it, but I'm going to show it to you. This screw right here is the oil level screw. This screw is a vent, so that when you fill it, it has somewhere for the air to go. Down here is where you drain it. So you take out that screw, then you come down here and you take out this screw. Your oil will come out and drain. Put a little pan or something down here. Terrible stinky oil, but very, very important to do. So we drain the oil down right here, let it go until nothing's coming out. I usually let mine sit for about 30 minutes after I remove the plugs. Then, I know this may seem strange to some, but you fill this from the bottom up. You don't pour in the top, you fill it from the bottom. So keep the vent out, keep the oil level out, and then there is a special pump system with an adapter. This adapter that's on here screws right in. So when you take that screw out, you screw this right into it. This screws into this lower unit bottle, and you start pumping. And as you pump, it pumps in the bottom and starts filling up your lower unit all the way up. And once it reaches this point where it says, and you do this with your engine straight down, you don't do it at a tilt, do it straight down. But once that oil level is right, it'll start coming out that oil level screw. Once that oil starts coming out, you put your screw in there, you put your vent screw in, and once you put those two screws in, you can unscrew the bottom one off. You can unscrew this out of the bottom one, and nothing will come out because there's no air going in for it to come out. Nothing can displace it. So then you put that in, and then your lower unit is now lubricated for the season. It's really important that you do such thing, and make sure that when you're done, you tighten it up. Make sure those are tight. Now there's rubber seals on each screw. You make sure those screws are tight, and you don't have to monkey them tight, but you do need to have them nice and snug, because you can get oil or you can get water in there when you're motoring, and that thins out your oil, breaks the viscosity down, and you will lose a lower unit. That is a pain in the butt and expensive. Lower unit, you're best if you find a whole blown motor on Marketplace or someplace like that, used somewhere, and just buy the whole motor. Because if you try to buy a lower unit, you're going to spend an arm and a leg, or at least an arm. And so you just buy a used motor, and then you go with it like that. And then when you get that lower unit, make sure you put a new water pump in there when you're doing it. But hopefully If you change your oil, tighten those screws up, make sure they're snug, you won't lose the lower unit and you won't have to worry about it. I want to take this time to say thank you to my this year's sponsors. County Tire in Cambridge City, Sidelines Sports Cards and Memorabilia here in Cambridge City, Lumpy's, everybody knows if you want a good breakfast, go to Lumpy's. Lumpy's Cafe in Cambridge City. Ardent Reels, they're fantastic casting if you want professional level gear. Ardent Reels. Dimensional Imprinting, they can make your cards, hats, shirts, banners, anything you want, they can produce it. They're in Milton. Also, Hypnodelic Vape Shop, they have all the supplies, top quality vapes. And I want to thank also my teammate sponsors, Pitcher Racing, TNC Salvage, a joint sponsor that my teammate and I have is Friendly Freddy. He's a car salesman at Wetzel, and if you want a deal, he's the one to go to. He can put together a deal that will fit your budget and get you into a new car when you didn't think you could.